Welcome to another edition of SEC Primetime with Starks and Stern. I'm Max Starks, and of course, he's Clint Stoerner. And today's episode, I think we have to kind of lick our wounds a little bit, Clint. I think we need to regroup. We need to circle the wagons.
That's right.
Come to a kumbaya moment. Probably hold virtual hands. I know a lot of beverages were drank, not in happiness, on Saturday night between the Razorback faithful and, of course, my Fighting Gator alumni. Man, where do we start? Let's start. Yours was the early game. Yours was the ESPN College Game Day game. And for the best of times leading up to this game to the worst of times in that game, and, of course, a guy by the name of Stetson Bennett at the helm, not even JT Daniels. I mean, where do we start here, man? I mean, we knew that Georgia defense was good, but 37-point shutout good?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the jury was still out on was the Clemson game for real? You know, what was Clemson? You know, we know that who they were coming into the season, but now that we saw them for a month, who were they? What did that game really mean? And I think the jury was still out on exactly how good Georgia was, man. And I tell you what, I think they answered that question pretty quickly in that football game. I mean, that was total dominance on both sides of the football. There's no other way to slice it. The Arkansas Razorbacks were overwhelmed having to play on the road in that environment in Athens. Hats off to Georgia, man. I mean, on both sides of the football, they just dominated the line of scrimmage, and everything else was icing on the cake. I mean, their quarterback threw it 11 times. 11 times Stetson Bennett threw it. And I don't know that he had to throw it that many times, to be completely honest with you. I believe they ran it 56 times. Just an absolute annihilation of the Arkansas Razorbacks by the Georgia Bulldogs. And, look, I walked away from it. I believe that Georgia is closer to the number one team in the country than the number 4 team in the country. And I'm not sure that Arkansas is a top 10 team in the country at that point in time after what we watched on Saturday.
Yeah, man. I mean, we already knew that, right, that Arkansas was coming in. They had their one trick, and it was a really good trick.
Yeah.
But we were looking for that second act, right? We're looking for that follow-up. How could KJ Jefferson kind of mold himself into being that play-action game manager quarterback? And we just didn't see those opportunities. He gave 3 sacks in that game that were, at big moments. And yeah, you're right. That Georgia D-line looks for real. I mean, across the board, it was one that was tough. And it's like they took Sam Pittman's playbook and added it to their offense for that game with the way that they ran the football, right? I mean, 56 times, 4 different guys got double-digit touches in that game. I mean, it was one that was tough to watch. And I know you didn't and I didn't, because we both were picking Arkansas with those points. We're like, yeah, we'll take the points on that. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But I was not prepared for that. I really thought that Arkansas was going to do something a little bit more to keep it closer.
Yeah, look, I think we all did, Max. But here's the deal: I mean, Arkansas. We've said this from the jump. They're very one-dimensional, right? And if any team in the country can stop their run, then they're going to be a very average football team. And I think that's ultimately. I know there's a lot more pieces to the puzzle than that, but ultimately that's what we watched. Man, we watched a team that could stop them in the run game, force them into 3rd and longs, force them into 2nd and longs and obvious passing situations. And then it's a matter of can you protect the quarterback? And Georgia just unleashed the hounds, no pun intended, when that happened. And so, I think Arkansas was exposed a little bit. Really, I think Arkansas was exposed on both sides of the football, with their 3-down line that's caused havoc, the entire season. Literally got ran through by the Georgia Bulldogs, and Barry Odom didn't adjust. I think that was probably by design, because you at that point in time, you can't just give them one play drives. You got to continue to make them earn it. But when it's all said and done, Arkansas was just outmatched in a major, major way. On top of it, they were overwhelmed in a major, major way, and they gave up way too many pre-snap penalties. They started behind the chains way too often. And Max, I mean, when you're playing a team like that, it doesn't matter if you're the same caliber team or not. When you start behind the chains and you give them you give them yardage, you know, in the penalty game, it's damn near impossible to beat them. So, yeah, man, it was a big time wake up call for my Hogs, no doubt about it. But I tell you what, I'm a believer in Georgia now, not because they beat the brakes off of my Hogs, but when you dominate a football team, a Power 5 football team that's won some nice games this year, when you dominate them for 4 quarters the way Georgia dominated Arkansas, man, there's no faking that right there. That's a big time team and a college football playoff caliber team. Obviously, it's hard for me to think they're not the number 1 team in the country right now, but they're sitting at 2.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, they strutted, they flapped their wings, whatever you want to call for showmanship. They did that.
Yeah.
And they did it on the big stage. All right, let's turn the page. Let me get my tissues. I think we were texting you Saturday night. I sent you the tissue box. I was like, nah, pass it back. I was the box because, I mean, my Florida Gators go up to Lexington, think that, you know, we felt good about this game, and then, yeah, we let Kentucky just dominate us. I mean, the first quarter looked good. I mean, you know, it was a very tough battle. I knew it was going to be tough. We edge it out at the end of the first half, and then, I mean, essentially get shut out in that second half. And, you know, at the end of the game, when you have a moment to tie it, you have that moment. Nobody can count to 3 on the offensive line. Nobody. And then Malik Davis forgot how to count to 3 on that swing pass. Penalties, conservative play, calling by Dan Mullen, misuse of Anthony Richardson when he did come in the game, just problem after problem after problem, right? You know, it just seemed to be a snowball. And, you know, Mark Stoops, listen, we knew this was a good team. This was the year we said Kentucky is going to announce themselves as an upper tier team in the SEC, especially in the East. And I think you and I both had them pegged as the second best team in the East.
No question.
And, you know, Florida kind of gave us some rise, gave us some push to make us think about it, right? The Alabama game, you lose by 2. You really go to the woodshed, and then you dominate Tennessee in the second half of that game. Then you get to Kentucky where it's like, okay, show us that it's going to be a battle against Georgia. Show us what you got offensively. Show us what you have defensively. And they fell flat on their face. Both shoes tied together, trying to run a race. That's what happened in that moment. And, you know, it's frustrating, right? Because if you get in any tiebreaker situations, Kentucky has you beat.
Yeah.
Because of head up. You know, there's no common opponent in the West that you're going to compare it against. They beat you head to head. So you have to hope that Kentucky stubs their toe 3 times before you even get a shot anymore. And it's a frustrating thing to see because there was that upward trajectory. And then you kind of just, boom, you know, Emory Jones, there's only so much he could do, right? I mean, but at the end of the day, not being able to stay on sides really cost, especially in the red zone. That was 2 drives in a row, Clint, where these boys jumped off sides inside the 20. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is a moment where you can capture it and you don't take advantage of it. So it was very frustrating by me to watch it. What are your thoughts about that game?
Well, you know, I didn't really hammer down on that game until the end when you're talking about. So I know when they had the opportunities to win that ball game and didn't handle their business, or at least tie the ball game up. Right? We're sitting there going, man, you go for 2 if you score here. You know, what do you do? And then hell, they didn't even get in the end zone. You know, the crazy thing for me, and I mean, I was interested in hearing your opinion on it, is I expected to look at this box score and see a very one-dimensional game, a very one-dimensional Florida football team that was you know, obviously a run-heavy football team, and Mark Stoops, who's a great defensive mind. I was expecting to see that kind of game. And I looked up the box scores, and I mean, Emory Jones threw for 200-plus yards. They rushed for 170 yards, and I thought, well, damn, Kentucky must have done something big time. I look over there, and Will Levis has thrown for 87 yards. I mean, you got to be kidding me. 7 of 17 for 87 yards. I start racking my brain. I got to talk to Max about this. How in the hell did Florida not do work versus Kentucky when that's what the box score looks like?
I mean, and that's the thing. I think missed opportunities, right? You know, you look at the pick by Emory. You in the game. That was short fields and comes down 8 false start penalties, Clint. 8.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You can't win when you have that many false starts, and where most of them were concentrated, red zone.
Yeah.
First and goals turning into first and 23s, right? You can't have that type of mistake. I don't care how big the stadium is.
Right.
You have to lock in at that moment. And I get the whole hand clap type of cadence. But at some point, if you know that's not working and guys are jumping off sides, you might need to go back to a head bob, right?
That's right.
That's why the pros do it. You don't see any pro quarterbacks in the league doing clapping hands. And in fact, they have the guard doing it so the center can keep his head up and see all the movement pre-snap. Like, why is it a clap thing in college and not a head bob thing? Do they feel they can't handle it? Because I think in a loud stadium, no matter what, if people are in the crowds clapping their hands, how you gonna know that's Emery's hand clap versus a fan in the a guy in the first row in the behind the goalpost clapping? So I have my frustrations with, like, from a technical standpoint, but like you said, to see the balance between, and they held Chris Rodriguez under 100 yards rushing.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be a dub. That's supposed to be
a
dub in that moment, and you come away with a 7-point loss.
Yeah.
13-20. Anthony Richardson, he came in and he went 1 for 1, had a couple of rushes. I didn't really like the way that they worked him into the flow of the game. And especially Emery, I get trying to get him some reps, but it was one of those things. It just felt disjointed. They never felt like they were in flow. And then as you know, penalties just kill any momentum you have in an away stadium.
Yeah, and the field goal block for a touchdown obviously is the difference in the game. I mean, special teams touchdowns, penalties. That's the way you can overcome a lopsided box score. That's for damn sure. This was disappointing to me. I say disappointing, man. Look, I think Mark Stoops has got a really, really good football team. I think Kentucky's allowed him the time to build that thing the way that he wants to. I think he's built it with a sense of urgency and a standpoint of going through different offensive coordinators to find the right mix for him over the years. He's wasted no time. I mean, he gets an air raid guy in there, it doesn't work, boom, get out. He gets another pro style guy, get in there, boom, get out. Now he's got a cutting edge NFL guy that came out of one of the better organizations offensively in the NFL, and he seems to have found maybe the right recipe. But I thought Florida was I guess I thought they were a better football team than to lose a game when the box scores look like this. I mean, it just seems like they make enough plays, have enough athletes to score enough points to get beyond the Kentucky Wildcats when, like you said, Will Levis doesn't have 100 yards passing. Rodriguez doesn't have 100 yards rushing. Interesting game, man, but that's why they play them, right? The Kentucky Wildcats are the sleepers in the East, and now they've got a chance to really make some noise moving forward.
Yep, your dark horse is still alive if you're keeping it in the survivor pool territory. All right, before we move on to the next topic here on SEC Primetime, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Play Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With football season kicking off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Let's turn the page from our big losses. Let's move to the next phase. And I think, when you look at this, I think the only other game to talk about is Bama Ole Miss. I mean, Lane Kiffin, the Chompers were going.
That's right.
Ole Miss on game day early. Remember that? And him talking about grab your popcorn and watch this pregame, drop the mic. And nobody told him that you needed to bring your big boy britches. I mean, that was domination from the moment go. Nick Saban you could tell Nick Saban wanted this game. Of all the games Nick Saban had circled on that schedule this year.
Yeah.
Ole Miss. Good old Laney boy. Yeah,
That's
hey,
right.
Lane, remember I came and brought you into my office and had you revolutionize our offense? Well, we're about to turn that offense on you. We're about to unleash it. And boy, oh boy, did they. I mean, man, it was something that they just kept it going. And I mean, Lane looked shell-shocked, like he didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, Max, this is an interesting one for me, man. And this always frustrates me when I watch NFL games. It's like when teams are opposite, when they're across the field from Pat Mahomes, you see teams, because it's the Kansas City Chiefs and they're so powerful, you see teams all of a sudden going for it on fourth down when they're in field goal range and walking away from red zone possessions with no points. I mean, I cover the Texans, and they did that this weekend. They went for it on fourth down inside the 10-yard line, didn't get it. And the coach said, well, when you play Buffalo and Josh Allen, they score a lot of points, man. You got to get 7. You can't take 3. And to me, that just screams weakness. I mean, like when the opponent takes you out of your game plan before a point is ever scored on the scoreboard, to me, it screams weakness. I hate when football teams do that. You go back and look at what Ole Miss did. And look, I know they're a football team that coming into this game, hell, I think they were 100% on fourth down. They went for it on fourth down a lot this year. And I understand that. They went for it on fourth down 3 times in the first drive, their first possession. And here's the deal, Max. The first one I can get down with because it's from the 35-yard line.
Yeah.
Okay.
No man's land.
You're on field goal range, college. That's a long field goal. Okay. You want to be aggressive? Cool. And then you turn around and go for it on the 18-yard line. You got 3 points right there. Early lead on Bama. They get it. They got lucky. Then they decide to go for it, do it again in the same drive from the 6-yard line. So you have a hell of a drive to get down there, and you don't get the 3rd, 4th down attempt. And what does Bama do? Boom. 95 yards the other direction for a touchdown, right? Exactly. They've turned it over on downs 3 times in the first half, and on a turnover 1 time late in the first half, and Alabama's up 28-0. Those are just the kind of things that, man, I guess it's easy for me to say it sitting right here, but man, when the opponent can take you out of your game plan and make you attempt low percentage things consistently in drives, the first time you touch the ball, they got you right where you want them, man, right where they want you.
Well, and I think here's the thing, Lane, and he tried to defend this, right? He goes by the analytics, right? He's pure analytics, no feel analytics. And as a guy who's called his games and seen it firsthand, I'm like, yeah, he has a guy holding a book on the sidelines, and when you get to these 3rd and 4th down scenarios, the guy opens the book and Lane reads the book as though he's reading a Sunday paper. Exactly. So I don't get, why you can be so crippled by these data points as opposed to feel of the game, right? I mean, 4th down from the 6, take the points. You're in an away game. Like, that's where the coaching IQ needs to kick in as opposed to being so reliant upon data points.
I talk about this a lot, Max. I'd be interested to hear what you're saying. Like the value in taking 3 points in that instance right there. It's so much that at that point in the game, it's so much more valuable than just 3 points. To me, I mean, as a former player, when I'm sitting there and we go into Alabama and you go on this drive and you get 3 points and you go to the sideline as an offense and you go, boys, with the scoreboard. We're up 3-0 on Bama. We chewed up 5-6 minutes off the clock, however long they chewed up. We got a 3-point lead, right? And we've proven, hey, man, we can go the length of the field and we can score points and we can do some good things offensively. There's more value in that than 3 points. The confidence that you build, the momentum that you gain, I don't know how much more valuable it is than 3 points, but damn it, it's worth more than 3 points, right?
Well, yeah,
and then on the flip side of that, Big Max, you do all that work and walk away with nothing. I mean, it's just I
deflating.
hate when teams do that.
Yeah, because here's the thing. You march down first drive of the game and you put points on there. You've said to your offense, look what we can do. Defense, hey, ball's in your court. We did our job. We just gave us the lead. Make sure we maintain that lead. That's what you're saying. As opposed to going down there and saying, well, need the ball back, guys. It's the only way we're going to get this. And you already cheated death once with a fourth down conversion earlier in that drive.
Twice.
Yeah, twice in that drive, you cheat death. Why are you risking it a third time on the same drive that close when you have guaranteed points? And what does that say to your kicker? I don't trust you to kick it from the 6. So now you're messing with the special teamers. And we all know how fragile that mind can be, right? That's like a bag of cats. All you need to do is just poke it and then it goes crazy. That's what you've done to your kicker by going for it on fourth down 3 times in a row where you didn't trust him. I get the first time, right? 35, no man's land. Get it. But once you get into that high red zone and you get to the tight red zone, if you don't have confidence in him, what are we doing here? You know, why are you going to depend on him later in the game if you couldn't trust him early in the game? And like you said, that psychological advantage is you can't quantify it. So, no, it was just, I mean, and Bama did Bama. I mean, let's just face it. Bryce Young did what Bryce Young needed to do. Bill O'Brien still looks like a darling.
Yes.
He's at the helm, right? You know, he's a good day. I mean, think about this. Bryce Young went 21 of 27, 241, 2 Ds. Yeah, he had the interception. But, I mean, what else are you going to ask the boy to do? I mean, he did what he needed to do. He put the ball in the playmaker's hands. Brian Robinson went absolutely roughshod across that defense. 36 carries. I mean,
golly.
171.
I mean, but Max, I don't mean to beat this dead horse with this going for it on fourth down crap, but they went for it on fourth down 5 times in the first half. They turned the football over on downs 1, 2, 3 times, I believe.
Yeah, 3 turnovers on down.
3 turnovers on down. Guess what? Here is Alabama's scoring drives, right? They went 13 plays, 94 yards after you should have kicked the field goal. Then they went 10 plays, 47 yards. You gave it to them. You turned it over on downs. You gave it to them on their side of the field this time. And then you turn it over on downs and you give it to them on their side of the football field again. And they have to go 27 yards to score a touchdown. I mean, you take your analytics and shove them all up in your ass. I don't know. There's one way I know you're going to get beat by Alabama is you turn it over on downs 3 times in the first half and you give them short fields 3 of their 5 drives. You don't have a chance. I hate to see teams just completely, lose their identity and take all that kind of risk before the scoreboard says that you should do that. Hey, in the second half, you're up. Alabama's up 35-0. Okay, you better start going for it and trying to make some things happen. Exactly. But 0-0 in the first, nah, man, I can't get down with that, Max.
No, I don't rock with that either. I mean, and we saw what the result is. We see the result of when you do that, and I think that's the Lane Kiffin curse, right? I think that's why you're like, when you want to be good, how do you go from good to great? These moments, you don't push down your legs.
Yeah, that's right.
you don't go for it 5 times in the first half on fourth down.
Mm-mm.
And then funny, in the second half when you're down, how many times you go for it on fourth down?
Nothing.
You are down 35 points. That's when you start doing the fourth down efficiencies. But I digress. Anywho, I think we've blown the lid off of all the disappointing losses of the week. We'll get into our conversation about our picks in a moment. But I just wanted to let you guys know about the Field of 12 Media, a brand new podcast and digital media network covering college football by the people that know it best. Brought to you by Shoot Your Shot Productions, the folks behind the Field of 68. The Field of 12 gives you insight into the game we all love by the people that have lived it. Trevor Knight and Bryce Petty over there in the Big 12. Josh Perry, Christian Hackenberg are covering the Big 10. Yogi Roth and Ted Robinson own the Pac-12. We even have Harry Douglas and Cody Sensabaugh on the ACC side of things. And of course, we'll be here every week to be your go-to source on the SEC. Check the links below to find the rest of our shows. The Field of 12, where college football happens. Let's go for headlines. What do you think? Actually, no. I'm not even going to say it like that. What is the road for Georgia? Where is the resistance for Georgia until the SEC championship game?
Well, it's Kentucky. I mean, it's Kentucky all day long, right? Can Kentucky stay on the field with them and make it a 4-quarter ball game and give themselves a chance late? Can they get a special teams turnover, right? Can they get a team? Can they force Georgia into the pre-snap penalties that they were able to force, if you will? I guess those are unforced errors, but that they were able to get versus Florida. I think Kentucky is the next matchup, and then beyond that, you know that Florida's going to bring it. You know Florida's going to bring it versus Georgia. You know that's going to be a good football team, good football game. You know Florida's got they got the dogs to match up a lot better than Arkansas did, and at least make them be two-dimensional, make them play the run and the pass. I do think, even though at this point Florida has been very one-dimensional, I do think they're better in the pass game than, say, Arkansas and some of the other schools that are one-dimensional in the country right now. But I think it's Kentucky. I think it's Florida. And then obviously they got the SEC championship with Bama, which I think they end up there playing the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that matchup against Kentucky coming in 2 weeks, they do have Auburn.
Yeah.
Speed bump in the way, right? I don't know if it's necessarily a fence, but it's a speed bump. You got to slow down a little bit, right? Go over that with caution, especially if you have a low-profile vehicle. But they're rocking dually tires, so they're just blowing straight through it.
Look, Max, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm not going to bet on Auburn, but let's be honest. They just won a hell of a football game in Death Valley at LSU. That was a hell of a football game. That was an admirable performance by my man Bo Nix that I've been trying to bench. I've been trying to bench him for 5 weeks now. Yeah, look, I mean, but more importantly, they went to Happy Valley. They went to Penn State. I think Penn State is the real deal Holyfield this year. I think they're a very, very, very good football team. And I'd love to see them in the college football playoffs. With that, Auburn went up there and went toe-to-toe with their boys. And I'm going to tell you, man, I don't know that Auburn's not going to give them a run for their money. I think Georgia's the better football team. Obviously, I think Georgia has the ability to dominate and stop their run game. But I like Auburn's ability to throw the football more so than I do Clemson or Arkansas. And that's the two big wins that we've seen Georgia have right now. Georgia's going to have to defend more of the field to stop Auburn, to stop Kentucky, to stop Florida than they've had to against any opponent to this point. So I think Georgia wins that ball game, but I do think Auburn puts up more of a fight than they're probably going to get credit for.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I get it too, because, I mean, that was another game, right? That LSU game, with them, everything that was going on with that against Auburn, Bo Nix really redeeming himself. I mean, the boy was tough as nails. I mean,
come on, man. Cool.
Hey, to take all of that, to take the mental state of being benched in a game against Georgia State, and then to come back against the LSU Tigers and say, "Oh, let me dust it. Go ahead, dust the shoulder off, smack him in the mouth, and just not even flinch." That's a heck of a moment. I got to give props to Bo Nix for answering the bell, because I thought TJ Finley was going to be in that game.
I thought he was a starter. I thought he was going to be in the game. I thought he made him a better football team. And I'm going to tell you, Bo Nix put the team on his back down the stretch and won that football game for his team. If there were any doubts about who the dude was coming into that football game, I would, if I were Bo Nix right now, I would have kept quiet leading up to this ball game and handled my business. But if I'd have performed the way he did last week in those moments, I'd have to sit down with the coach this week and say, hey man, I mean, now I've earned it. You know, now I've put the team on my back, and I've gone and got a fourth quarter victory at night in Death Valley when nobody thought we could do it, when I was doing a lot of it single-handedly, running around back there like a chicken with my head cut off, making big-time throws. Like, now's the time. This is my team, Coach. I mean, you do what you got to do, but I'm letting you know that where I stand is no more Mr. Nice Guy, no more splitting time. I mean, this is my team. I feel like I've earned it.
Yeah, exactly. Give me all them 1 reps. Give me all those.
That's right.
I need those 4 and 5. I'll take all of them. He don't get those last 2. When it's the 5 plays live action, I want all 5, Coach. Give them to me. So that good on good section. So I mean, and so when you look at that, I agree. It's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a better game when they play each other. But yeah, I mean, Georgia, what they showed me last week, they're better equipped, but I still don't trust that pass game. When they actually get a team that can stop their run, that's where I worry. Because like you said, Sensibile only had to throw the ball 11 times, and that was a generous 11
times. Whew.
Imagine a team actually forces you not to rush the ball 56 times in a game. Yeah. That's what I just don't know. And I don't know with Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels, because I don't know if I trust any of those guys outside of the tight end for them. You know what I'm saying? As an actual threat to go deep, to go yard. So it's going to be interesting these next 2 weeks, and then there's a bye, and then they'll play Florida.
That's you're hitting the nail on the head, Max. I mean, they're obviously a great football team, and I do believe that Georgia's closer to one they are 4, but they've not faced a well-rounded offense that's two-dimensional. And then when you look at defensively, they've not faced a defense yet. Well, I guess they did in Clemson. They damn sure did in Arkansas, that could stop the run and make them throw the football to win, to your point. And so they're a great football team, and nobody in their right mind has them ranked outside the top 2. But I do think there's some things that the jury's still out on. We just haven't seen them. Now, I think they can after what I watched, but we haven't actually seen it on film enough to be convinced that they're that good. A two-dimensional offense versus this Georgia defense is something we've yet to see to this point, and I'll be anxious to see how they perform when that happens.
Yeah, no, me too. And I think we might get a preview of that this weekend. You know, obviously the other big matchup that's going to come up this week, I think we have to look at those. I mean, LSU, Kentucky, we kind of hinted at that. Kentucky needs to continue to roll. LSU, Edo.
Hey,
I'm
Max,
trying to light that Bunsen burner.
Max, I told you. Hey, I told you. Look, I ain't right very often, damn it. But I told you the Kentucky game. After the Kentucky game, if they lose to Kentucky, Edo's gonna be on the hot seat, and it's gonna be an open door conversation. It ain't gonna be whispers behind closed doors. I think it's gonna be all out in the public. If they lose this football game this week to Mark Stoops and the Kentucky Wildcats, which they probably will, you better believe that Ed Orgeron is going to be the topic of conversation in the SEC about being on that hot seat.
Yeah, no question. Hey, listen, Clint, just always remember this: a broke clock is right twice a day, baby.
That's who I'm competing with right there.
Yeah, that's who you compete with. Just go for 3. That's all you need. Go for 3. You know, I mean, the rest of the slate, Alabama, Texas A&M was that game at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But now you're getting a Texas A&M team that's unranked. You know, it's going to be a home game. So obviously the Texas faithful going to show up. All the Aggie fans, 12th man's going to be in the building. But you're going up against a 5-0 versus a 3-2. And the 2 losses, let's just face it. Yeah, there's nothing to hang your hat on right now. If you are Texas A&M, Bama, I think probably sleepwalks through this one. I don't think it's a tough game, because just what we saw when Arkansas exposed them, that's the same thing Bama's going to do, except for they're going to do it in the air and on the ground. They're going to hit you like an army, you know, hit you with an army on the ground, and then the Air Force is going to bomb you in the air. So you're getting a full attack. And I don't think that this game is going to live up to that hype that we were expecting it to be. And boy, what a shame, right? Haynes King is gone. Calzada looks lost. And now it's Jimbo. What are you doing?
Big Max, this A&M is the most disappointing team in the SEC that I've watched in a very long time. I mean, this is a football team that a lot of folks across the country had picked to be in the college football playoffs, to go 12-0 in the SEC, win the SEC, and be in the college football playoffs. This is a football team that is riddled with NFL caliber players. This is a football team that on the defensive side of the football, depending on who you talk to, they had 9 or 11 defensive starters returning, again, which several of them are NFL caliber players. This is a team that has recruited 4 and 5 stars since Jimbo got there. And Jimbo's had 4 years to develop guys and get them ready for this transition when he lost 4 offensive linemen and a starting quarterback. He's got, at the running back position, the wide receiver position, the tight end position, he's got guys that will be Sunday first and second round draft picks at every position. And they can't get any kind of production consistently out of their offense. And I'm going to tell you what, Big Max, I'm down here in Aggie country now. I hear a lot about this Calzada kid. And there's no doubt about it that the quarterback has left a lot on the table game after game after game. But every damn time I watch him make a negative play, there's an offensive lineman on his ass 7 yards deep in the backfield with him. And so at that moment in time, I go, no, man, we can't blame it on Zach Calzada. All right.
Yeah.
We can't talk about he can't stretch the field. There's throws open downfield that he's missing, or he's not seeing, or he's overthrowing. Until you stood back there and you've had linemen push back into your face, or you've been hit left and right consistently, you don't know how difficult those kinds of throws are. I'm not saying the kid's great. I'm not saying the kid's a D1 quarterback. I'm not saying he's a Power 5 quarterback. But I'm telling you, the ones to question in Alabama, I mean at A&M right now, is Jimbo Fisher from a development and a scheme standpoint on offense, and Mike Elko, who's got a defense full of returning starters and NFL caliber players, and they can't. I mean, they're getting ran through like shit through a goose. It is absolutely embarrassing what A&M is putting on the football field. And Max, you know what's going to make this thing worse? You mark my word. What are we 5 games? What are they, 2 and 3 right now?
Yeah, 3 and 2.
3 and 2 right now. You mark my word. By the time they go, that their record goes to a losing record, they're gonna have NFL caliber players hanging them cleats up for the season. Mark my word.
Right, and that could be 2 weeks from now.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I look at that, and you're right. I mean, it's disappointing. It is the biggest letdown, I think, in the SEC. And the only one, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, Vanderbilt, we knew what they were.
Ooh.
Mississippi State, we knew who they were. So it's no wonder when they're down there. South Carolina, right? They had a grad assistant starting at some point.
Yeah.
But A&M, a top 5 preseason team.
Yeah.
The absolute cliff drop that they had in the first quarter of this season is unheard of. And like you said, for Jimbo to get that extension, for this to be year 4, which is that pivotal year for all coaches, right? To put this product on the field, I need some of that money back. Listen, I need to put something back in my pocket.
Think about what they've done, though, Big Max. Like we're talking about 2021, man, where grad transfers are quarterbacks are. I mean, Arkansas, Sam Pittman went in there and got Felipe Franks from Florida in 1 year, and the kid's in playing with the Atlanta Falcons right now. I mean, exactly. How can you in 2021 have everything that Alabama gives? I mean, he said Alabama, the A&M gives to a coach, all that talent around the guy, and you don't have a quarterback that can go out there and distribute the football. If you want to blame it on the quarterback. Now, I'm not one of those that jumps to that quarterback with all the problems around him. But if that is the case, I still want to go back to Jimbo and say, damn, man. I mean, these quarterbacks are transferring left and right. How in the hell do you not have one of them in here if that was your option? A sophomore quarterback that threw 3 picks against Kent State, he gets hurt, and now you got Zach Calzada, who looks like he's overwhelmed in Kyle Field with a weaker opponent, much less on the road. How do you get to that point? Don't bash Calzada. Let's ask the big man making all that bread up top what the hell's going on.
Well, and think about this: all the transfer linemen that were out there. If you knew you had to replace 4 linemen, you're telling me that you couldn't find no good linemen to come in with starting experience? Because I'm looking over at Oklahoma, they got half the Tennessee offensive line starting for them. Right? I mean, I'm just
yeah.
I'm like, what's going on here? Why couldn't you scoop one of them? You know, I mean, in that process, there's so many other guys, and this is the year of the super senior, right? You got 6-year guys who get the full year and can transfer. There were so many options available, and this is what you put out here. So it's unacceptable. We're gonna keep talking about it because I want to see if a Bunsen burner gets lit under him as well.
Oh, that'd be an expensive one.
Yeah, that's an expensive Bunsen burner. But listen, if you're gonna put that out there, it's like cut your losses while you're ahead.
That's right.
Because it can tank further. All right. We talked about it. Let's get down to the juice. We're gonna do our pick of the week. This is the last segment. You guys have squeezed all of the juice out of these oranges right now. So right now, last segment. It's our pick 'em segment. Brought to you by BetRivers Sportsbook. You can get the app, iOS, Android. Go to betrivers.com if you want to put your bets. But the game we got on the docket, LSU, Kentucky. Kentucky's giving away 3, but and then the total points are 50.5. What do you got? I mean, I know what I got because this team right here just showed me that I need to pick the other one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Look, I Big Max, I'm gonna ride with Kentucky, man. I'm a Mark Stoops guy. I still don't know what in the hell's going on at LSU. I know Max Johnson is really tearing it up. Him and Butte are a dangerous 1-2 punch. But outside of that, they're having to carry way too much of the load. They're putting way too much of the responsibility on the quarterback to just win every damn snap and score on every drive to keep up. I'm going with Kentucky. I believe Mark Stoops puts a really good game plan together versus an LSU football team, an LSU offense that they're really one-dimensional and very dependent on Max Johnson. I think Mark Stoops has a really good plan for them. They're at Kentucky. That place will be absolutely rocking. And look, I think Kentucky rolls here. And I like the under, though. I like Kentucky -3 and the under 50 and a hook.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go lockstep with you. I feel the same way. Kentucky can make this dirty. You're a one-dimensional team, Max Johnson. I mean, you're throwing the ball 40-plus times a game. You can barely get the rush off. Yeah, you're rushing it 25, 26 times a game, but they're bad rushes. I mean, an LSU team that can't run the football is a bad LSU team. Because that's the one thing we could, both when you played and when I played, the one thing you can hang your hat on is that LSU was going to have great DBs and they were going to run the football. Those were religion. And
that's
now
right.
Now you've lost your way. You're the wayward son right now if you can't rush the football with all those guys. So I like it as well. I think Kentucky's just one of those teams that's going to make it. He's going to muck it up. They're going to make it dirty, and they're going to grind this game. And I think, like with you, I think the under is appropriate here because their defense is good enough to keep it low. And then the offense, because they're so run heavy, they're going to keep it low because of chewing up time. So I like the under on this as well. I like Kentucky with the 3 points. And there we have it. C'est la vie.
Well, Big Max, don't forget what UCLA was able to do opening week against LSU's defense. And Mark Stoops is going to play defense and he's going to run the football. So I would expect Kentucky to run roughshod through LSU's defense the way other schools have. And I would expect Mark Stoops to have a plan, baby. That's I'm going to hang my hat on that and take it to the bank, hopefully.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Well, we're going to cash these checks next week when we come back to another episode of SEC Primetime because this has been we've had our purging session. We've looked into the crystal ball, and we've also given you our genius content. So I don't know what else there's left to do but to say goodbye to this episode. You know what I'm saying, Clint? I think
That's right.
Cut it off right there. So for Clint Stoerner, I'm Max Starks, and you've been listening to another episode of SEC Primetime.